So this month, this whole month has been, I release what no longer serves me. Just say that with me. I release what no longer serves me and surrender to the light of my soul. First time ever I'm not using that podium, and thank you for remembering. Othello, please. So I release what no longer serves me and surrender to the light of my soul. And as you just heard, you are the light. I am the light. We are the light. Not so much in Vegas. The title of my talk today is What Happens in Vegas, ... And here's the ... What happens in Vegas does not stay in Vegas. It never does. If Vegas is your mind, what happens in your mind never stays in your mind. What happens in your mind shows up out here. Anybody having anything show up out here that started in their mind? Because that's how it works. So this whole idea of what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, The universe hears everything. The law of life, the law of cause and effect, hears and knows everything. As Suzanne said, it's not just your thinking or your expectations. What's the bedrock of belief that's holding all of this together? Because whatever that bedrock of belief is, the universe is listening to and giving you your life based upon it. So what happens in Vegas does not stay in Vegas. Now let me tell you about Vegas. I never need to go there again. Ever, ever, ever. Never, never, ever. That said, if I end up there, then apparently I'm supposed to be there. But my intention is that I never need to go there again. Now, how many people here love Vegas? Raise your hand if you love Vegas. Okay, so for the 2 of you, 4 of you, for the 5 of you, 5 of you, for the 5 of you that love Vegas, namaste. For me, I enjoyed the 4-hour drive there. Oh, you should know this too. So 3 of us are giving the same talk this Sunday. Reverend Jonathan Zenz already finished his talk called What Happens in Vegas, ... And Reverend Rita Andriello will be giving her talk in about an hour, but hers is called What Happens in Vagueness Stays in Vagueness. She just had to one-up me. Yeah. But she's so right, isn't it? It's the same thing. Because that's an entire talk. All I'd have to do is say the sentence. You know what that talk's about. If you're going to be vague, your life's going to be vague. If you're going to be vague, your life's... That was me being a skater. Your life is going to be vague. So, Vegas. I know, I saw the water. And trust me, I can walk on water. So, what happens in Vegas? So let me just tell you about Vegas. So the trip there was great. We had a great talk, Rita and I, for 4.5 hours to Vegas. It was a great talk. When we got there, you are affronted, and my apologies to those of you who love this, because my affront and your affront may be 2 different affrontednesses. So I got there, and it was a beautiful drive, but when I got there, instantly I'm in traffic, and it's the biggest buildings, I mean, everywhere, and signs and blasting. And I was like, it's all God. It's all God, and you will flow through this like the God at presence and energy that you are. Until we got into the parking lot, and I couldn't find a parking place, and I got out of the car and instantly was just assaulted with cigarette smoke. In the parking lot. And I was like, well, that's the parking lot. Okay, so I'm sure it's better in the building. We get into the building, and of course, Rita and I chose to park. We found a really great parking place, and we thought right at the door of the lobby, not so much. It was a mile to the lobby. We parked at the end of the Miracle Mile. Not so much miracle. Lots of mile. So we are carrying our bags all through a mile of stores and slot machines and smoke. It was really a great entrance into the great city of Las Vegas. And so we got there, and then our room was beautiful, and it was a no-smoking room, which means no one's smoking now in it. because it certainly seemed like someone had. So, and then we think, you know, oh, it's going to be fine, because by the time we get to the conference, surely the conference is set up as this beautiful spiritual place within. But when Rita and I walked, we were like, oh, there's the conference. That was the door to the conference, right beside this big thing that said Sin City. I was like, how does this work? Sin City, spiritual consciousness. I was like, wow, talk about duality and trying to deal with that. So we walked through the smoked hallway into our spiritual conference, which you still heard the slot machines, and you still heard the people, and the smoke. If you're in a building where someone's smoking anywhere, it's somewhere in the building. So the energy was not what you would call Zen. It just was a different kind of energy. And I first went to judgment. I'll be really honest. I first went to judgment. Who thought this was a good idea? So I entered the conference with, who thought this was a good idea? What a beautiful way to enter your spiritual conference. And I did ask the question, and it was given an answer on who thought it was a good idea, and it was someone I really love. And I was like, oh, they had a blip moment, I guess. I was like, you know what, Rita and I were like, let's just give over to it. And Jonathan was the stage manager. So we see Jonathan, and I went, how's it going? He goes, don't talk. I was like, namaste. So I was like, what am I doing here? I actually intended to go here. And so Rita and I, and here's the best part. On the way there, Rita and I were like, I was like, Rita, let's pretend we're driving home and let's have a conversation. And we have this conversation as though we're going home. We're like, wasn't that the most amazing conference? Oh my God, I was so spiritually fed. And our room's so beautiful. When we drove home, Rita said, do you want to have that conversation now? And I was like, I actually think it's the same conversation. She was like, yeah, it's the same conversation. But it was. No, it really was. All of that stuff actually added to an experience that brought me more clarity than if I'd sat on top of a mountain, cross-legged, meditating. Which I never do. I had so much clarity. You know, for someone who teaches that God is all of it, and if you can't walk through all of it as God, you don't get it. And let me tell you, my remember who I am fell off a couple times when I was sitting in a moment of like, what is all this? In judgment. And I had a great opportunity to just let it all go. Because the truth is, it is all God. All different expressions of God. There was God in the woman that was so drunk she could barely find the slot area. Well, I was playing slots as well, but she was sitting right across from me, and I was like, how can she be enjoying this? And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to judge this. She's experiencing God at her level of expression, and I'm losing money at my expression of God. And then it was great because Rita said to me, she said, you know, I have a feeling you're playing with fear money. And I was like, do not science of mind me in the casino. And it was just like, and I was like, but what is fear money? And she said, it's when you put money in the slot machine, pretty sure and afraid you're going to lose it. I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely what I'm doing. But I've assigned myself $25 a day to lose. And she went, say that again. I said, I have assigned 20, I even told my husband, I said, I'm gonna lose $25 a day and that's all. And Rita said, did you ever think of like winning every day? I said, how are you doing with the slot? She goes, I've lost everything. But you. She said, you need to win. You need to win. And so we're in this whole win-lose conversation, and the woman's getting drunker and drunker, and the smoke's getting worse and worse. And I was like, why are we here? There is a metaphysical lesson to have here. And the question is, why are you here? And that's what I got. If I don't want to be here, get up and move. Move. Just go. And so I did. I said, let's just go. Let's go. And so we went. We saw some wonderful shows. I saw Le Rêve, the Cirque du Soleil show, which was mind-boggling. And then Jonathan took me to see Love, the Beatles Cirque du Soleil. Oh, and that was in the casino. So There were great things about the trip, and there were things that were not so great about the trip. And yet, doesn't that kind of speak to our lives? There are great things in our lives, and there are things that are less great. Does it change who we are? Yes, it does. It changes our experience of who we are. And therefore, in our minds, it changes who we think we are. Does it ever change who we really are? No. But I'm talking, as I said this morning, about the experience of life. What experience do you want to have of life? Because I got to tell you, someone said to me that this teaching is flawed. And it just was like, ugh. But I instantly knew the teaching's not flawed. Those who use the teaching can appear to be flawed. And we may use the teaching in a flawed manner. And when I thought about this, I thought, and the reason was, it was like someone was being very judgmental and pointing out while we were in the casino, in the convention, how many of the people of our movement, of the Science of Mind movement, are leading desperate lives. And I'm talking about the ministers. I'm talking about the leadership, which is where we were. Leading desperate lives of trying to survive, not thrive, which was the theme of the whole conference. Trying to survive, trying to have enough money, trying to do to get. Do you get that? Trying to do in order to get, as opposed to doing in order to be, or being, which informs my doing. And I got it. I really did get it. If you look at an entire population and you don't see thriving and joy and happiness, and you see backstabbing and biting and arguing, then you have to look at it and say the teaching's flawed. Because the teaching's not doing what the teaching said it was here to do, which is to eliminate discord of all kind from mankind, and that is a possible thing. And discord only means that which stops us in our place, not that which grows us. As there is discord that I move right through. That's all part of the eternal plan of life as it constantly moves and shakes. I watched a giraffe give birth to a baby giraffe on YouTube. I wasn't there, but and this video came up that someone had on Facebook, and it was this giraffe, and it's about discord. You know, first of all, I loved the mother giraffe, and all you mothers out there that have children, you know this is not your experience. She just kind of had like, something's up. She just stopped, and then these two little legs appeared behind her, swinging. And she's just like... I was like, well, if that's childbirth, that's not a problem. And then all of a sudden, her head just kind of moved around, and she's just this little thing's coming out, and all of a sudden it like goes... and just falls on the ground. And I thought, did someone post on YouTube a dead giraffe birth? This would be horrific. And I watched it. And so the mother giraffe comes over, and she like looks at it, and then she kind of just hits it, and it like goes, and you know, I immediately start crying. And then it tries to get up, and it can't get up, and she just like kicks it across the room. I was like, wow, motherly love. And how many times did my mother kick me? Well, maybe it does work. So she's kicking this, and then it kind of tries to get up, and then she goes over and stands over it with all four legs. And it's trying to climb up her leg, and she kind of kicks it again, and it falls. And then she goes back over with all four legs, and it finally climbs up her leg and stands up. I'm like sobbing, just sobbing, watching this, but I get it. There is something that is over us, under us, around us, through us, that is always saying, get up. Get up. Stop laying in the smoke. Stop putting money in the slot machine when you know you're gonna lose it. And then you're annoyed. Get up. So this giraffe got up and had this beautiful little experience, and it just like kicked itself off and started to walk, and the mother's just, and I swear to God that mother giraffe was going, this is how it works. So, what is in you that you need to release, what you need to let go of? And where is your light? Where indeed is your light? One of the workshops was given by James and Deborah Roos, and it was about health. And it was a brilliant workshop. It reminded me a lot of what Michelle and Dean are doing. And he said something, and when he said it, it touched me, it connected in me, and it was this. If you walk into a dark room and someone asks you to dim your light, leave that room immediately. Just think about that for a minute. How many times have we been asked to dim our light? How many times have we acquiesced? How many times have we asked ourselves to dim our light for fear of it being squashed, for fear of it not really working, for fear of whatever fear shows up? I heard that quote and I was like, oh my God, I will never, ever. And I'm not a person that lets too many people dim my light, but it has happened where someone has literally dimmed my light, or let me rephrase that. Someone has asked me to, and I've said yes, I will. So I'm asking you today, what do you need to release, finally, at the end of this month? What do you need to release? We just started Lent. Not that we celebrate Lent here and Easter, but we do, in one sense. We understand the metaphysical nature of it all. And Lent is all about giving up, isn't it? Lent is all about releasing, and then at the end, resurrection. So obviously, when we get into March, we're going to be celebrating the resurrection of all things. But first, we have to release. So Ash Wednesday, which I usually get to celebrate on a ship, on the deck of a ship for Holland America, this year I didn't. Next year I will. Ash Wednesday, I had to find a way of talking about Ash Wednesday in front of people that are mostly Catholic. You know, and you know all know the story of me trying to give ashes and saying, I can't do ashes. I cannot be the person that puts a crucifix on people's heads. It just feels wrong. I feel like I'm out of integrity. And they were like, then don't do it. Explain it, and then let them do it themselves. Which was great until the one little girl came up crying and said, you have to do it for me. And I was like, oh my God. God bless you and namaste. So, actually I did it very lovingly, because as soon as she started crying, I started crying, and I was like, fine, I'll be a priest for a moment. Because I originally was going to be a priest. So Lent, here's what Lent means to me. And it really is about finalizing this whole month. Let's end negative thinking. L-E-N-T. So if you want to give up something for these next 40 days, give up negative thinking. Release that. Let go of that. And negative thinking is all the smoke and noise of your mind. Because if it's in there, and if you're a part of it, it's part of you. And it's creating from you. So, what happens in Vegas certainly stays in Vegas, because you and I cannot eliminate what's in our minds until we actually, as Suzanne talked about, step in there, realize it, honor it. That's the other thing. Honor it. Don't turn away from it. If I turn away from it, it's there. It stays there. Don't be afraid of it. Suzanne found out that after all these years, she has walked through life fearing a primary relationship because she's not worthy of that primary relationship, because the one she had with her father went away. Now, that takes a very evolved mind to spend all those years and finally pinpoint it. And I watched her that day in that workshop, and I watched her come clean with this and come clear with this. Her entire body and face transformed in front of me. It was like, wow, oh my goodness. So what's in you? What's in you that still wants to be released? And you know how you know? What aren't you doing? What aren't you doing that you know is yours to do, and you're not doing it? Because it's going to lead you back to some belief about it. Some belief that holds you back. I release what no longer serves me and surrender to the light of my soul. One of the first things they did at the conference was create a release exercise. And it was, you wrote on a piece of paper what you want to release. And then, of course, it was Vegas, so you put it into a thing of water and it disappeared. It was a magic act. So, I'm not paying attention to what's going on, because I was still stuck in the smoke and all. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, what are they all doing? What was just explained? What? So I turned to Rita, I said, what are you writing? She said, I'm writing down what I want to release. It's going to go into the magic bowl and disappear. And I was like, what? Where have I been? She said, I don't know. Where have you been? And I was like, oh yeah. I've been anywhere but this room. Anywhere but this energy. You have to be there to know what you think about it. You have to be willing to feel what you feel to know what you believe. You have to know what doesn't serve you sometimes in order to know what does. You have to be willing to say, this no longer serves me, and so I am done with it, in order to say, this serves me. So I want to close with a big aha I have had, not just over this last week, but over months and months of teaching this new crop of ministers and practitioners. And I'm a part of a mastermind group with John Livesey and Rick Tamlin. And we talked about this yesterday, and it is such a, and here's what's funny. We all came to talk about the same thing, although we all thought of it ourselves in our own lives, and it's this. There is a huge difference between doing to get and doing to be. And for me, there's a huge difference between achievement and expressing. I have been a type A personality my whole life. No, really? Yes. Just in case you didn't know that. I have always achieved. If I want it, I achieve it. That's how I did it. I'd go to New York and say, I'm going to be on Broadway. And I end up starring on Broadway in one of the hardest dance roles ever without the training, in order to just make it a little more difficult on myself, I guess. But I want it, I get it, I achieve it. However, I didn't have fun, I didn't enjoy it, it didn't have a payoff. So I needed another achievement, and then another achievement after that. And it was, let me try this, I'll achieve this. I say it, I achieve it. Same thing goes with the church. Dr. Walker said to me, my mentor and teacher said, you cannot do a church in a theater and try to do it all. And I was like, watch me. And so I did it. And I have to tell you, church won out. In the end, he's not right, but he had a point. One of them is going to win out. One of them is going to really express who you are. When you stop achieving, when you stop focusing on the achievement, you actually may take the time to express who you are. And here's the great thing about expression. When you express from the authentic nature of your being, achievement happens. You cannot help but achieve when you are expressing from your soul. So for me, what I realized sitting there in Vegas was that what no longer serves me, and I wrote it down on that silly little piece of paper and put it in the bowl where it disappeared. And I wrote down achievement. That's all. And Rita and I talked about it, and she was like, wow, that's an interesting thing. You don't want to achieve anymore? I said, no, I get it. If I just express who I am, do what I love, do what's mine to do, achievement finds me. But if I keep trying to be something, Ernest Holmes says in the textbook, you will never become God. You will never become God. Now, many people in our movement have taken that sentence to argue the whole concept of I am God. Because Ernest Holmes said, you will never become God. Had they bothered to read further into the chapter, they would have understood that what he really said was, you will never become God because you can never become what you already are. So, what I bring back from Vegas, it doesn't stay in Vegas, it stays in me, and I impart it to you, is that if you just allow yourself to follow these three things, to just love, forgive everything, that means let go of everything, we get rid of all the stuff, and remember who you are. If you just allow yourself to do that, and then express from there. Someone also said this week, don't you get it, James? You can never be all that you are. You can never be all of God. You will always be a little individualized expression of God, but you will never be all of God. And I said, oh my God, that is wrong. And they said, what are you going to walk around saying that you are all of God? I said, yes, because when I tap into the allness that God is, and I recognize my place in it, and I express from that level of consciousness, I have literally reached the consciousness that I know I am. And it's not about saying, I'm God and Karen Mitchell's someone else. It's not. It's about getting that we are all that thing we call God. And if God's a problem for you, just put creativity in there. Put love in there. Put anything in there that makes you understand you are the entire ocean, as Rumi says. You are the ocean within the wave. You're not the wave within the ocean. Those are two very interesting concepts. If I'm the wave within the ocean, I feel a little small. But if I am the ocean within the wave, I've got the power to speak my word, and my word is law. And we're doing it anyway, because whatever you are speaking is creating your life. And now we're back at the top of this. So, you have the opportunity today to really understand that every aspect of your life is divine. The smoke, the slot machines, the consciousness, the energy, the music, whatever you're around, it's all God. It doesn't mean you have to like it. And it doesn't mean you have to embrace it. And it very often means you have to, as Dr. David Bruner says, treat for some people's highest and furthest. And he said this week, he said more on the furthest than the highest sometimes. But I said, no, it's always got to be the highest and furthest, because you know that's not where you want to be. I am now no longer in Vegas. I can breathe. I can breathe now. I'm not breathing in smoke 24 hours a day for 5 days. And yet, I didn't get sick. A lot of people got sick from that smoke because I knew what the smoke was and didn't embrace it. I said, it's smoke. It will go through me. I will not get a sore throat. I will not get sick. I know who I am. I am the ocean within the wave. So as we close this month out, and as you sit here today, and you remember our affirmation, I release what no longer serves me, and I surrender to the light of my soul. You have the opportunity today to surrender to that amazing giraffe that's standing over you saying, get up. Because if you get up, you are going to recognize that you are unlimited potential. So get up. Namaste. Oh.